Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Growing Up with Godzilla. This is my show where I have conversations with Godzilla fans about how they've grown with the character and franchise over time. We are at the end of season 2. Can you believe it? I know I can't believe it. It still comes as a surprise to me, but we've made wonderful progress over the course of the season. We've had some great conversations, and I'm just so grateful that we've been able to do this over the past year. And season 3 is on the horizon. We got some new and exciting things in store for season 3. So, to wrap up the season, I decided to invite back a dear friend of mine to nerd out with me about quite possibly one of the biggest years in Godzilla that we've had. 2023. So much Godzilla stuff going on. So without further ado, I would like to welcome back my dear friend Cyndi, who goes by Stream of Awareness here on YouTube. Hello, Cyndi, dear.
Hello. I dressed for the occasion.
See, I wear Star Trek garb tonight. I am glad you stuck to it in more Godzilla garb. You are a better fan than me.
Well, blue is a Christmas color, so.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. So, Cyndi, oh my goodness, it's been a while since we've last had you on the show, but we did have you on earlier in the season.
hmm
So, what's been up since then?
Oh, quite a few things. I've been watching Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and I saw Godzilla Minus One. So I saw you get excited. You're nerding out on that show too. So yeah, but I've just been going through some stuff.
Some
I
stuff.
don't want to detail it in public because it's very personal stuff and people would get very wrong ideas, but it's I'm having a hard time, but I'm here because I need something good
Oh, well, I'm
and
glad
you're
that you're
good.
here. And you're good. I'm so glad you're here, and I hope that whatever is going on, I hope that it works out and gets better.
So do
And
I.
you know what? The interesting thing about all this is even at our most vulnerable moments, and I think this is something that we've established a lot over the course of the 2 seasons of the show. Like, even in our most vulnerable moments, Godzilla is there. Godzilla
Mm-hmm.
is what we often gravitate towards to kind of alleviate ourselves from, you know, trauma and history, like difficult histories and things like that. So, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll be talking about that here in a little bit because that's a lot to unpack, right? Especially when we talk about Godzilla Minus One. P.S. Everybody, I'm just going to throw this out there right now. We will be talking about Godzilla Minus One, meaning there will be spoilers. So if you do not want spoilers, you might want to not watch the rest of this until you see Godzilla Minus One, which, by the way, is in theaters for another week. So there's an excuse to go see it still, right? There's an excuse to go see it still. So let's answer the question. I know I made the comment earlier, but has this been the best year for Godzilla ever? Do you think?
I do think so, yes. Because, I mean, it's like that internet meme with all the plates of pancakes and she's got the fork and she's like, oh my gosh, it's like Godzilla is everywhere, and it's like, he's in cases he's pink and people are pissed about it and I'm just laughing at him because pink's my favorite color.
Oh, oh, Legendary's woke now. He's pink. What are we gonna do?
Oh my god, just let him wear a tutu for God's sake. He's still manly.
I kn- so I've been I've been on a tangent lately because I own that Mothra page, right? And I've been like, I got so mad one day because somebody left like some weird transphobic comment on one of my videos about pink Godzilla. So I was like, I'm gonna dress Godzilla in drag.
That picture is so funny.
So I was like, I'm gonna put Godzilla in a dress and pretend that he's a contestant on RuPaul's Drag Race just to see how people. Godzilla Gorgeous. That'll be Godzilla's drag name. I would argue that this is one of the biggest years for Godzilla because of just the sheer volume of Godzilla content that we've had to absorb, right? So what have
Mm-hmm.
we had? We have the Monarch Legacy of Monsters show. We have Well, this was Godzilla's 69th anniversary. We got a Godzilla versus Jet Jaguar short. We got a Godzilla versus Megalon short because it's been 50 years since Godzilla versus Megalon came out.
And you got the drop kick in there. I love that.
Absolutely, it was amazing. And we've also, I mean, we have Godzilla Minus One. Am I missing anything? I don't know if I'm missing anything.
No, I don't think so. I'm not much of a gamer, and I know there's stuff been going on like Gigabash, but I don't play that, so I can't speak on it.
I don't play it
But
either.
I'm seeing it around Twitter. I refuse to call it X, but around Twitter.
I don't call it X either. But ultimately, like, there's just so much stuff to absorb. And I know there's been like a lot of commentary lately where fans have been like, one thing is better than another, like, blah, like, like kind of gatekeepy conversations. And I'm just like, there is literally so much Godzilla stuff to enjoy right now. Why don't we just like lose ourselves in it? Gravitate to the things that we love, right? I know for me personally, I've been really gravitating toward Godzilla Minus One. And I think let's just gush about it. Let's gush about Godzilla Minus One because we absolutely need to. So you got to see Godzilla Minus One a week and a half ago thereabouts.
December 2nd.
December 2nd. So how what was the process like for you? Like what was it like being able to sit in the theater and watch it?
Well, I couldn't get an IMAX theater, so I got like a regular theater, but that's fine. It's like, but I got a seat that was kind of off to the side, so I didn't have anybody around me because I had to be COVID conscious. I wore my mask and everything, which good thing nobody could see when I was crying. But it felt like being in the middle of the destruction. Usually when you see a Godzilla movie, he's from the side, he's smashing the miniatures, which yeah, I love that. That's enjoyable, but you see how horrific it really is to be caught when he's like right on top of you and everything's crashing down. And I had a reclining seat, so I was kind of sat back like this watching, so I couldn't like jerk forward like I do when I'm really interested in a movie without making a bunch of noise. So I was just, I had my tangle and I was just like, just going, oh my God, and there were times where I yelled a few times, but nobody heard me. But I was just like, oh my God, in the theater.
Well, the film was so loud. Like I know like there were a couple of points where I almost like had to cover my ears. I was just like, "Oh my god, this is so loud." And it feels like
That's my
Godzilla's
normal
actually
life.
here. Right. So yeah, you're just like speaking to the choir right here. Shameless self-confession. I've watched Godzilla Minus One 3 times because I don't have a life. Or I do have a life. I don't know. So by first viewing, I spent most of the film really annoyed because I was seated in between two exhausting people. One person was commentating the entire film to his friend, and then the other person next to me was like asking me questions. And I was just like, let me watch the film. I don't care. Like, open up Wikipedia, answer your questions on Wikipedia. Like I didn't realize that I signed up for a bonus feature listening to this dude's commentary next to me. Like, no, what are you doing? So I got through it. It was really good. I loved it. But I think I really was able to finally absorb the film on my second viewing. So I saw it probably like a week later. And at this opportunity, this is when I like sat in the theater, like sequestered away from everybody else. And I was like sobbing to myself during the entire movie. But like no, at that point in time I really felt like I was enmeshed, like ingrained in the narrative, and that just felt so good. So I guess like my big question for you would be like thematically speaking, like retrospectively, like what were the standout moments for you in Godzilla Minus One?
Well, something I do want to point out real quick is that if anybody wants to understand my current mental state, just go watch the movie because it's basically all my feelings right now that I can't really speak about. But here's where the spoiler warning comes in.
Spoilers, everyone.
But when Shikishima when he has that nightmare and he wakes up and he's talking about how, maybe I've died and this is a dream of a dead man and none of this is real. None of this is real. None of this is real. And then Noriko, she's grabbing him and she's like, "No, you are alive. You are alive." That's when I started bawling
Me too.
because I know what that's like. I've been there. I
Yeah.
am there right now, but I just think of that scene and I look around my room and I'm like, "No, this is alive. We're alive. You can feel pain when you pinch yourself. We're alive." And the scene in Ginza when Godzilla is trashing everything, when he knocks over the roof with the reporters and you're on the roof falling with them, that just like I did not breathe for like 2 straight minutes
Oh,
after. I was
right.
like I held my breath. My mask makes me hold my breath sometimes and I forget to breathe out and I got kind of lightheaded, but I was just watching it and I just was gasping for breath and stuff. And then the atomic breath
Oh, the atomic breath scene in the city.
when you see Norco go flying, she pushes him and then she just blows away. I was like, oh my god, that's when I was yelling. I was like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Oh my god, like because
Mm.
it's like feeling your safety being taken away.
And when we think of the character Shikijima and the fact that he literally had experienced so much loss, so much trauma already that like one of the only tethers he had was taken away from him while
Mm.
experiencing a live in moment traumatic experience, like that is like the character literally was at their lowest at that point when you think about it.
Yeah, and then after, Godzilla's roaring at the mushroom cloud, and then he just walks away, and then I'm gonna get emotional, but because this is where I am in my life right now, is when you see the rain falling and you see him just crumbled on the ground and he just starts screaming, and Godzilla just walks away completely indifferent, doesn't care. That's where I am right now in my life.
Mm,
And that was hard to watch because I felt it, and I feel like that was kind of a moment of release for me in the theater.
yeah,
Where things were like, it's just like, oh my god, dude, I hear you. Can you hear me? And it's like, no, he can't hear you. He's in a
yeah,
movie, but like, it felt like being heard in a way. It's like
right.
he was screaming my scream that I can't scream,
It's like
so he
the
did it.
scream of like I'm powerless, but at least I have control over being heard, right?
Yeah,
That
at least
was
he
that.
did.
Yeah, that was a very powerful scene for me too. And well, like when you're experiencing trauma, especially if you have no control over a situation, like sometimes that's the only thing you can do. It's either
Mm-hmm.
you shut down or like you scream or like that's part of the shutdown process. But I think that that's what makes this film so thought provoking and why the human component in Godzilla Minus One works so well is because it literally is a trauma story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a traditional Godzilla film where, like the primary conflict focuses on two kaiju necessarily. It focuses on the human element. And it's not to say that there aren't other Godzilla films that do have that human, component, but we've also not seen a story told from this perspective in a Godzilla film before. In this like setting, like in like post World War II Japan. So I think
Yeah.
that is the perfect brew that made it what it is. Another scene that really stood out to me regarding like trauma, the scene after Noriko like climbs out of the river that she jumped into, and she's just like she knows that Godzilla is like looming behind her really close, and she just doesn't really care. Like she's just like so paralyzed by the trauma that she's just like
I
let
mean,
it happen kind of a thing.
she was just trapped in a train that he had picked up and she managed to jump out, and just the fact that she barely even reacted to the terrain hitting behind her, she just kind of was swimming and moving and getting out of the water. But it's like it was like a freeze response, and it's like I get that.
Yeah, yeah. And then like
Yeah.
when Shikajima finds her and is like, "Do you want to live?" Like that was an interesting moment for me because like obviously earlier in the film, like we see Noriko consoling him, being like, "Don't you feel like you're alive?" Like so like him kind of extending that little flicker of light to her in that moment, kind of like echoing her words, like that was really powerful to me. So like it really, this dynamic of like two people mutually helping each other survive, I think that's the heart of Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah, and like the part where she said, maybe we're alive because we were meant to survive. And then when the atomic breath, when the shockwave happens, and she just blows away like dust, I was just, my heart stopped. I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" Like not in a bad way, like storytelling. It's just like, ugh, you know.
Yeah. The moment, so there was an interesting moment, like the last third of the film, because obviously being that it's a trauma story, like Shikajima was suffering horrible survivor's guilt. And we see periodically throughout the film that he does experience suicidal ideation.
Mm-hmm.
And the I think what was the most beautiful moment, I think, was the moment he decided to live. And I like some people might disagree with me that it was this particular moment, but there's a scene where like he's in that plane he's flying it, and he's just en route to Godzilla, and he flies it, and he looks down and spends like 30 seconds just looking at the landscapes around him as he's
Mm-hmm.
flying. To me, that's the moment he decided that he wanted to live,
Mm-hmm.
because he
We're in
started like
agreement.
oh my god, he started seeing the world for what it actually is, that there is some beauty in the world and that it's worth fighting for and worth living for, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like that, like I was trying to be very conscious in the theater, just like sobbing. I was like, "Oh, that's so beautiful." Because like being like the fact that I'm a very naturey person, sometimes like if I'm having like a really low day with like ideation, I might like look at a landscape and be like, "Wow, that's worth living for," or something subtle that goes a long way to kind of break you out of that,
Mm-hmm.
low point, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm.
And another scene, actually, I think it's like a couple of them, but any time that they were dealing with Godzilla in the water, I mean, when the Jaws moment, I call it, that that
Uh,
scared the crap out of me. And when he's got this mine in his mouth like a freaking jawbreaker, and they blow it up, and when I saw the damage done to him, and when I saw it kind of go, and I'm like, oh my god, these guys have got to either run or they're gonna die. I thought they were all gonna die there. I really did. I'm so shocked they escaped it, but I'm glad they did. But I mean, when Godzilla goes under the water and he blows up the battleship from underneath, and then he's just flipping it over, he's like a freaking crocodile almost. I don't think he quite did it. No, it wasn't a death roll, but I would love to see Godzilla really death roll something. That would just,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to
He
say a
just
bad word, but
No, like it literally was a magnificent but also terrifying scene. And like I think that's what made this film, like, so a lot of people have been talking about like Godzilla's like closeness and size in the film, like adding
mm-hmm.
to like how intimidating he is, and I agree with that, like because like that whole ocean sequence where like it, like the jaws now were like they're being chased, like that was the first time. Well, no, I found Godzilla scary before, but like it was the first time in a long time that I felt scared of Godzilla. Like Shin Godzilla kind of scared me in a variety of different ways, but more so like in an existential dread way. Whereas Godzilla
Mm-hmm.
Minus One was more of like a I am being chased by a predator. I need to run kind of scared.
Yeah, and it's like that meme where the guy's like, "Oh, get away from me," that guy on the beach. It's like that's how
Yeah.
I'd run away from Godzilla. I'd be like, you know, at the beginning of the movie when we see pre-mutation Godzilla when he's just biting people and throwing them around, I'm like, that looks fun. Can you do it to me?
Mm-hmm.
Come
Right.
here, do it to me. But
So the interesting thing, I think what makes this Godzilla scary is, and this is what distinguishes it from Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla had a motivation, and that motivation was to survive and adapt. We don't really know Godzilla's motivation in Godzilla Minus One. Like, he doesn't
mhm.
really have a motivation, at least that I can perceive. And he's
I
just
think he
like,
did.
you think he did? Well, I'm excited to hear about it. Well, I just, like, I felt like, I mean, maybe his motivation was more like malice, right? As opposed to like other Godzillas where it's like less that. Talk to me about your impression of Godzilla Minus One's motivation?
Territory.
Uh,
And this is the autistic perspective. My room is my Tokyo, and you put things in there that I don't want there, I'm going to get rid of them and take them out of there and put them somewhere else rather than burn them up. But it's like, if I don't want it there, it's going to go.
mm-hmm,
This is my room, is my territory. If you move Wiley, I'm going to put him back. If you move Wiley, I'm going to put him back where he goes.
mm-hmm.
But,
That's a
well,
very thought-provoking argument too. Well, like, so I did find it interesting that the film chose to show the Bikini Atoll bombing and then Godzilla being irradiated, right? So, like,
yeah.
that could be why Godzilla is experiencing rage as well, right?
I think that in a way he is a traumatized animal himself, but maybe he can't comprehend or understand that it's trauma. Maybe the radiation went to his brain and it's just stuck in rage mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because you don't really have moments where, like, Godzilla and the humans really take each other in. You just have a moment where he's looking at you like, you're about to die, and I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
the one that does it.
Right.
It's like that. When he stands up in the water after they tried to blow his face off with a mine,
Right.
and that didn't work. When he stood up, I was like, okay, pardon my language, but it's almost like he's saying, you guys are all fucked.
No, really, literally. And so, like, I think this is another reason I found Shin Godzilla scary too. But like the eyes, like I think these past two variations of Godzilla have been like terrifying when it comes to the eyes. Like, so Shin Godzilla's eyes to me almost felt like they were just like wide open and absolute terror to me
Mm,
constantly. Whereas like Godzilla Minus One's was like just complete rage.
mm-hmm. Like when he looks at you, it's almost like his look alone can kill you. I have a headcanon that Shin Godzilla in his fourth form, I guess, the one that looks the most like Godzilla to us, is
Mm-hmm.
that he's blind, and that his internal radar, that's how he navigates. So like he'll know there's a building in front of him, but he's not going to see it. That's my
Oh,
headcanon. That's why his eyes are
interesting.
like that. They're blank because they don't see. He doesn't
Mhm.
see the suffering he causes. He just walks over you.
Right.
I wrote
But
a
he's
fanfic.
suffering himself, right?
Yeah, I wrote a fanfic where he evolved to become the universe, and he recreates us over and over, trying to show us his pain, but we just continue to be jerks to each other and not listen. And so it's like, well, all this suffering you're feeling what I am and what you made me to be, and this is all you're going to be forever and ever, and just over and over recreating from nothing.
Mhm.
It's a really horrible story that's
Ooh, that
supposed to
sounds
be.
like almost like a universe of hell in a way.
Yeah, it is, because every time they freeze him, he goes inward, and it's like those Russian dolls where there's one inside the other, and just
Mhm.
it's just infinitely inward.
What's the
So,
name of that fanfic so people can go find it?
cosmic within.
Mhm. Yeah, so go find it, everyone. Other so like I really just every human character in that film in Godzilla Minus One just seemed to have some sort of progression and arc, and I think that that's what felt so fulfilling about it. Because like in other films, we've seen characters have arcs, but we've also seen characters who have just been like thrown in, or characters
Mm-hmm.
who just kind of are unresolved. And that's honestly my biggest pet peeve about the MonsterVerse. Like I feel like I mean, there's some interesting characters, and a lot of the characters have like some have moments and arcs, and but then there are others who are just like, oh, you're here, okay.
Yeah, I'm still upset that Sarazawa died like he did. But I believe that Ken Watanabe, I think he was going through cancer treatment at the time. I'm not sure, that could be wrong, but it could
Mm-hmm.
be that, that his health was taking a toll,
Right.
and
He needed to prioritize his health, yeah.
yeah, but I could be wrong on that. But I know that he was dealing with cancer at some point, and I think that might have been it, like during or after that movie. I'm not sure,
Mm-hmm.
but if he wasn't sure what condition he'd be in for another movie, I could see why he'd want to step out. But I just wish his character
Absolutely.
could have left and not died. But
Well,
they
I
gave
guess.
him a beautiful send off.
Oh, they did.
They,
I was more frustrated about Godzilla versus Kong because
mm-hmm.
his son is a character.
You don't even know that it's his son.
No, like there could have been so much potential to not only develop the son, but also like maybe his grief to develop, Sarazawa's character. And I was just like, ooh, I messed up my hair. I was just like, why, why? Whose writing decision was that?
I kind of want to go really dark and wait. Sorry, I'm blocking my mic. I want to kind of see something really dark where Ghidorah possesses him, and he's got three minds inside of him along with him. And it's almost like having dissociative identity disorder, except it's an alien entity. And like, can you imagine?
Ooh.
I wouldn't want to use it as mental illness makes you evil, because he's not mentally ill, he's possessed.
Mm-hmm.
But he would be treated as if he's mentally ill, and nobody believes him when he's saying there's something in my head, and they're throwing medicine at him, and it's like, no, you just
Right.
take this, and it doesn't work. And then just horrible things start happening, and he's doing them
That
because
would
they're
be
using
super.
his body. That would be like
Right. That would be super
terrifying.
interesting. That would be very interesting.
Terrifying.
So, okay, so let's broaden out and talk a little bit about the fact that, like, kind of harkening back to what I was saying earlier about the fact that we have so much Godzilla right now, and I've seen a lot of rhetoric where people have been like, Godzilla Minus One is better, the MonsterVerse is better, you're dumb for liking this, you're stupid for liking that. How do we navigate beyond pitting people who like things against other people who like other things as Godzilla fans? How do we get beyond that?
Well, first of all, everybody playing the who wore it better game, because that's basically what it is. You know, I'm just going to be really crude here, but this ain't a dick measuring contest, you guys. Come on, everybody's got something to like. Okay?
It's
You
true.
know, who cares how big or small your dick is? It just matters of, do you know how to use it? Okay, enjoy it. There's Godzilla for everybody. I don't care if he's a chode or if he's a giant honking hot dog. I don't care. It's Godzilla.
Oh my god. Oh, that got me. That got me. I just people need to just like there's so much Godzilla. Like I understand there's meaningful criticism, right? However, like if you don't like something, there's no reason to really gatekeep people from liking that thing. Like I just to me it just seems like it's self-defeating ultimately to try to be
Mm-hmm.
gatekeepy toward other people. But I think the more important thing that I would like to highlight is how 2023 has added to Godzilla as a character. Because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we've gotten so many different layers to the character. How do you think Godzilla has grown as a character in 2023?
Well, in terms of fame, I sure think he's on the radar now, because, I'm telling people, even if you've never seen Godzilla, go see Godzilla Minus One, because it's just a really good story. And it's about survival and trauma. And if you're a trauma survivor, if you're going through trauma, it's actually really cathartic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of
Absolutely.
people need that release. But also just seeing so many different aspects of how Godzilla can be characterized. I mean, we've got our pink boy, who's just wonderful and gay, and we love him.
Uh,
Like, oh my god.
uh,
It's like, I love pink, so, like, I'm fine with it. I'm wondering if we'll see the spiral breath.
Right.
I mean,
Godzilla, let's go to a drag brunch and have mimosas.
I want to paint his nails, like just paint them like glittery, sparkly pink. But no, I want to see the spiral ray. I just want to see him just kind of do a great impression of Piccolo.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Except it come out of his
Complete
mouth.
complete obliteration. No, like I would be really excited about that too. And I guess for me, I mean, I think as Godzilla fans, we were well aware of the fact that Godzilla is a pop cultural phenomenon. I think that 2023 has cemented that and solidified it.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2023 has proven how incredibly versatile the character is, because we can literally have like this serious, dark, nuclear specter Godzilla while simultaneously enjoying the, like more primal,
Beat
like
'em
I'm
up.
gonna I'm gonna run with Kong at the camera Godzilla, right?
I'm gonna run. I'm M11.
The slow motion.
Oh my god, I love that. I love that. That scene is
Oh,
great. I don't care.
it
It's
is
great.
great. Okay, so let's talk about the MonsterVerse for a second. So Monarch Legacy of Monsters is out. How
Mm-hmm.
far into it are you?
Oh, I'm on the current episode. I'm gonna watch the whatever's on tonight. When I come home from choir, I'm gonna put it on and watch it at nights because I don't want to wait till morning and then end up reading spoilers. But there are
Mhm.
people complaining about Kate having a lady lover.
Oh my god,
It's like,
yeah.
who cares?
I was so okay. So first and foremost, you know me, like part of my area of expertise is analyzing, writing about, examining LGBTQ plus representation. The fact that we finally have LGBTQ plus representation in anything Godzilla related, like in visual media, like video media, is amazing. There's been some representation in comics so far, right? But like having
Yeah.
it in actual live action is so good to see. Some people have been like, well, is it overdoing it? I'm like, I don't think so at all. Like, now here's my only gripe. Here's my only gripe. Um, there is an instance where like they kind of showcase, you know, some sort of cheating that happened when we literally are just introduced to the fact that she is LGBTQ plus, and which is fine because that does happen in all relationships. But like, I know that people are very quick to judge LGBTQ plus people as being promiscuous, and I worry that like certain haters will latch onto that and be like, oh, you know. So I think, like, at the end of the day, to me, any representation is good representation. It's a step in the right direction, and I'm really excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, and also it's like people. I saw that guy on your Twitter thing, complaining about what about this, what about this. But the thing is that it's like that was put in a way that where you could think, oh, maybe they're just friends, but this states outright that these characters are gay.
Right. Oh yeah, that person on Twitter who like shared like a screenshot from the original Godzilla film where two women were dancing on a boat, and I'm just like, at least I think that's where that screenshot came from.
Mm-hmm.
It literally, like, women dance together all the time. like
Yeah, but it's like
like
subtext versus
now
outright saying it.
I mean, one could argue that it is queer coded, which is fine, like totally. Like
If I say so.
there are many things in the Godzilla franchise that I have headcanons for that I think are queer coded, right? But like that's different from like being actual constructed representation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Where we see and know it is, yes, this is a romantic relationship. They are together this way.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Hannibal. They say, well, did Will and Hannibal, were they really in love? Because they never kissed. And it's like, is Hannibal in love with me? You know,
You know,
you,
well, so here the thing is, I've seen a lot of people loving Monarch. I've seen some people complaining about the characters, like there's too many human characters. I actually think the human characters are reasonably interesting in the Monarch show. I think that they are some of the more interesting characters that we've gotten in the MonsterVerse. So,
Mm-hmm. And I want to see them unfold the mystery too, because I'm curious about the dad. I'm like, okay, what's going on? I hope they find him.
yeah,
I
like
think
I
I
want to know where
will.
Home Wrecking Dad went. Like where did he go?
Yeah, seriously.
Like where did he go? But no, so I guess kind of leaning toward wrapping things up here. Like I have one final question that I think we both will be able to answer. And that is, like, considering the amount of Godzilla media we've consumed, how have you grown with the character these past few months personally?
Well, especially with Godzilla Minus One, I was able to release some things and just with a spoiler for the very end of the movie here, just it's just a picture of my life that, at the end he finds that Norco's alive and they're crying and everybody in the theater is crying and they're just hugging and crying, and that was so cathartic of a release for me because it's like there's relief. His war is finally over for him, except it's not, because the pieces of Godzilla start bubbling, and the big one, it's kind of like a GMK sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing where they had his heart beating. Except with this, it's just his parts are bubbling. Now, I don't know if every one of them is going to turn into a Godzilla and you're going to have a herd of them coming, but it illustrates my life where every time I think a problem is solved, it'll come back in some other way or it'll come back worse. And it's
But
just like, it's
yeah,
a picture of, here's my life. Yeah, I get it. This is exactly what it's like for me right now. So it's like I got a picture in my own head basically. So it's like, okay, so this guy, this director, I can't think of his name, Yamazaki or
Takashi
something.
Yamazaki.
Yeah, Yamazaki, I was right. He gets it. I want to hug that man, but he'd probably think I'm weird. Like, what is this 5'1" chick doing here?
No, I want to hug him too. I do. I do. Like Yamazaki-san, this is one of the best Godzilla movies, and we're so excited about it. But like, not only was like the Godzilla's like regeneration at the end, but also Noriko's infection.
Mm,
Like that was
it's like,
ominous.
yeah, it's like, is she radiation poisoned? Is she gonna live? And it
Mm-hmm.
might be they lived for a time and then she still dies anyway, and Godzilla had still killed her, just not immediately.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which one of them got Godzilla's blood on him, but I'm like, how is he not radiation sick and losing his hair and throwing up and having his skin starting to degrade?
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought Godzilla's blood would be the most dangerously radioactive part of him, aside from his flesh itself.
Well, we'll
So,
have to see what happens. Like, I think it'll be interesting to see, because that's a new direction they're taking Godzilla as well. Like, we've not seen Godzilla, um, exhibit any like disease inflicting capabilities or anything like that, but it makes sense, right? Now, like for me, when it comes to how I've grown with the character these past few months, like I feel like I don't know. I feel like Godzilla has kind of broken free from something. I feel like Godzilla has broken free from like this very American stereotype that we have for like the classic Godzilla films. Like a lot of Americans find the classic Godzilla films to be like campy and like I think they don't I think there's a lot of people that just don't take it seriously, and there's like this association, and I feel like Godzilla Minus One works toward disempowering that just a little bit. I think Shin
mm-hmm.
Godzilla started the process, but I think Shin Godzilla is going to see it through and help people realize that there is a lot more to Godzilla than the campiness that you think is just comprising the entire character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's anything wrong with campy Godzilla, because we do love campy Godzilla,
Mm-hmm.
but we also love serious Godzilla too.
Yeah, and like the first movie, the 1954 movie is just so dark and just, that movie, I feel like the characters in Minus One were on the level of the characters in the original film, because there was the discussion of why should we kill him, maybe we should study him, but at the same time, he's destroying people, we have to stop him. And
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like Old Yeller, where you take the dog out back and shoot it because it's got rabies and it's going to make everybody sick and die.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's like, I kind of feel like Minus One could almost be a prequel to 54. And considering how the government wanted to silence everything about it, it makes sense that
Mm-hmm.
people wouldn't know. And if most of the people that saw him were dead and the radio broadcast was cut off, and I don't know if they had any way to record and save it back then, they could have easily blamed it on a bombing.
That's very interesting because, like, there were a lot of instances in the film where they do talk about, like, government cover-ups and, like,
Mm-hmm. And that's so relevant.
misdirection. Yeah,
And
like,
it's so
that's
relevant.
still relevant to this day. And I think that's also why, like, just Godzilla Minus One stands out so well because, like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't I don't think mainstream audiences in this country are used to seeing post World War II experiences outside of our own. And I think that paired with, like, the trauma recovery storyline makes it all the more thought-provoking for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I am excited. I think that there is going to be a sequel, at least I'm optimistic there will be. And I do agree with you that I think that it could be a prequel to Godzilla 1954.
Yeah,
Maybe they're gonna just revamp the whole universe, and there's going to be a Rodan movie and
your queen.
Mothra a Mothra movie.
Oh,
Oh,
please. Give us Mothra. Donny needs his queen.
I need my queen. This queen needs his queen.
But I think the way that Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Minus One are so good is that they both focus on different aspects. Shin Godzilla is kind of a political satire, and they're
Mm-hmm.
just focusing how the government is so up its own butt that they want to squabble instead of deal with the problem. And then
Mm-hmm.
over here, in Godzilla Minus One, you've got America saying, well, we don't want to get involved because it'll make Russia mad, or the USSR, or whatever they were calling it, the Soviet Union. I
Mm-hmm.
can't think of what they were calling it. But
No,
anyway, Russia.
that's what they were calling it. Yeah.
And it's like, if we get involved, Russia will get mad. So you deal with it. And then the government's like, bye.
Mm-hmm.
So the citizens dealt with it. And by the way, I need to say it, Noda was hot. Noda with his Ludwig von Koopa hair.
He was attractive, nerdy attractive.
I want
I
to touch his
also
hair.
think Tachibana was attractive. I call him Tachi Daddy. Tachibana. Like, what, he was attractive with facial hair, but, like, cleanly shaven as well. Like, there's just something about a greasy engineer that I'm just like, I'm a plane, fix me.
And I thought the Shikishima was cute too. I just wanted to kiss him and hug him and be like, honey, it's going to be okay. We'll fix
I
this somehow.
kind of ship them. I kind of ship them, not gonna lie.
Have it be a polycule.
Yeah, why not, right? There's always room in fan fiction.
You know what? And let's just add Godzilla in there with you.
And you know what? We don't shame, like, people have what they want, what they love, right? There's fan fiction for everybody out there. So, well, I think I think that we have had a great year of Godzilla. I cannot believe we're living in it. It feels like yesterday that we were living in that horrible decade from 2004 to 2014 where there was, like, no Godzilla. And now, like, I feel like the past few years have just made up for that times 10, and it feels really, really good.
Yeah, it's like he's everywhere. And it's like now you can say Godzilla and people will be like, oh, yeah, I saw that. And, so.
Uh,
I've been babbling to my church choir about it, so maybe a couple of them might go see Minus One. I don't know.
yes! It's still
I
doing
hope
great in the
so.
box office, which is phenomenal.
Breaking records.
So, Cyndi, where can people find your stuff?
Well, I am Gojira's spouse on Twitter because my shtick is that I am Godzilla's wife. So Monsterverse, I love him. He's my handsome boy. But I'm also on Blue Sky under the same name, just in case Twitter craps.
Oh, I just got on Blue Sky as well.
Well, I gotta go find you. But on Archive of Our Own AO3, I'm just Cyndi, my name, and CYNDI, and Stream of Awareness here on YouTube, and Butterfly in the Well on Tumblr. So
Love
that's about
it.
it.
And
I
you know,
should have wrote
like,
it down.
well, it's so well. It'll be in the description section of this video for everyone who wants to go follow Cyndi. But like, it just being that this is the final episode of the season, I just wanted to reflect on how grateful I am for everyone, my guests, my viewers. I did not think that this show would go beyond the first 20 some episodes, but people still want it. I continually have guests reaching out to me. I have audience members being like, I really like this conversation. And it just feels really good. Like, I have struggled for a long time to kind of find like my little niche in the Godzilla fandom. And I think I have finally found it in the form of this show. So I am just really grateful that we can all talk about our histories and our experiences, because I feel like the way we've grown with the character over the years, as the character in the franchise has grown, is meaningful, and that we should celebrate those moments, those different things. So
Well, I am so glad to be here, and I like to kind of pop into your gay little corner of the internet. If your
yeah,
niche is that's a closet that it's okay to be in because you've made it your gay little closet. So it's not like you're hiding
this
in it.
closet has no doors.
Your closet is a reliquary. That's your poem that
Um,
makes me cry.
you're gonna make
Boy.
me. You're gonna make me emotional. Oh my goodness. Well, my friend, Cyndi, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you. I cannot think of anyone I would rather have for like the season finale of this show.
I'm weird
And
enough.
uh, that's why we get along so well. And last but certainly not least, I hope that you all have a wonderful holiday season, and tune back in February, because that's when season 4 starts. Between now and the end of the year, there will be like a how we've grown with Godzilla video that kind of wraps up, you know, like everyone's thoughts this season. And I might do a gag reel. We'll see. There's been some funny moments.
Oh, please do a gag reel, please. I want to
I
see it.
Beyond that, everyone, keep standing tall. Have a good holiday season, and we will see you next year. Bye, everyone.
Mwah.
Mwah.